I'm Bill Ryan, and I'm the author of the serpo.org website, which went online in the middle of November 2005. And one of the features of the website was a contact form in which I encouraged visitors to the website to contact me with any information, comments, thoughts, questions that they might want to have. And of course, my original intention was to encourage a dialogue about Serpo itself. But right from the start, I was aware of the possibility that people might get in touch to talk about anything else, which of course I welcomed. And one such here is a man who I'm talking to, which is a very great pleasure. I'm not going to identify him for obvious reasons. And he has a very interesting story to tell about his personal interaction with relics and documents and artifacts and films from a whole series of alien encounters, starting off with Roswell in 1947. And it became very clear that after this man contacted me just saying that he had an interesting story to tell and told me one or two little details about that, I picked up that bull, recognizing that there's something here of some considerable importance. This has got nothing to do with the Serpo story, but it should be something that's of considerable interest to every serious student of ufology. And I wonder if I could just ask you to summarize your story just in a couple of sentences, just so the viewers here will get an idea of why it was that I immediately seized on what you had to say and saw that it was important.
Well, I had my original contact had been that I had seen nothing in my experience that had to do with the Serpo story, but that I had other information. And what that information was that I spent 6 months at an aerospace company. I'm not a military person. I never was in the military. I spent 6 months archiving and filing artifacts, videos, films, pictures, and documents having to do with the government's involvement in UFO projects, research, and that sort of stuff.
And this was in which year? In the 1980s?
This was, 84, 85.
All right. And what did your job exactly entail, and what kind of material did you find yourself holding in your hands during that time?
Well, I was pretty much a file clerk with a security clearance. And I was brought items each day, and sometimes they were to be divided up into different branches of service. Sometimes they were to be divided up in classifications. Sometimes they were to be divided up as to what the content was inside them. Most of them were sealed. But there were artifacts from crash ships. There were discs from crash ships. There were mostly pictures and documents from the U.S. government and all branches of the government, and also from aerospace companies.
Could you tell us what kinds of stamps these documents contain?
What stamps? Classification stamps, top secret, secret eyes only, secret code word. A lot of them were only to be opened by authorized personnel. I mean, I worked in documentation, so I knew the markings on documents, and I knew what I should have been able to see, and in my regular line of work, and what, things that were marked incorrectly, I had to mark also correctly. So I was involved in that sort of stuff in my work. A lot of them were military that were not marked with any classifications whatsoever, which to me was kind of odd, but that's the way part of them were. They were just sealed envelopes with no markings whatsoever.
And what caught your eye the first time you came across this information that actually sort of turned your head?
It is something that I had believed in for quite a long time, and to be able to actually see proof to me, was probably one of the best things that has ever happened to me. That's the way I felt about it.
I can really imagine this. And since you started to come out with this information, one or two people have called you Roswell Man. Is this just because of, I mean, was this material just from the Roswell crash, or was it from other, let's say, interactions and time periods also?
Oh yeah, it was material for the lack of, the quest for, and gathering of knowledge to do with extraterrestrials and vehicle crashes and recoveries and equipment recoveries, that sort of stuff, all kinds of stuff.
So in fact, it was a whole cross-section of government-alien interaction between 1947 and the early 90s.
Days, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Now you mentioned that you noticed there were a number of crashes, and you actually told us a number. Can you tell me what was that number of crashes that's happened over the years?
Over 50.
On American soil?
American and abroad.
Have any idea of the number of different alien species that were involved in these crashes?
No, that's knowledge that I can't remember or can't recall, but I do remember coming across at least 5 different types.
And did you see photographs of these beings?
I think 4 I did, 4 different kinds.
Photographs of 4 different beings.
And could you describe them?
Well, there was, my favorites always were the tall orange ones, which in documentation it was stated that they were the creators of what we call the Greys, the common gray aliens with kind of the pointed chin. The orange ones were taller, thinner, had a more round face, but still had the large eyes. Those were the 2 most prevalent. There was also another race that were almost like the Greys, but maybe a little bit more pale and a little bit more stocky, but the same type of size. Like almost cousins to Greys, almost. And then there was talk in pictures of beings that looked just like you and I, only had light skin, sort of like Mr. Rain here with the blue eyes and lighter hair. Those were the ones that, from what I've been reading on the internet, and I never read documentation of this, that offered to save us if we disarmed our nuclear weapons and that sort of thing.
Okay. But you never saw any documentation?
No, I did not.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Was there documentation about the purpose behind the visitors? In other words, why they were here?
Yes, there was. It had to do with them fearing our nuclear capabilities and both destroying ourselves and maybe other species out in space, because we were getting awful close to space travel at that time.